How the heck are you guys? I'm Fastidious. Welcome to my channel. We have got a very juicy video for you guys today. And when I say juicy, you know I mean juicy. So Seamus and I have included our legendary drop rate study, finding what the chance to get each legendary hero is. And we had over 2 million summons accounted for. We had over 1,015 submissions. It is incredible stuff. But I said it was extra juicy. You expected that, but what you didn't expect, we now have a trusted source named T, who is privy to exclusive data not readily available to normal players of the game. So we actually have the exact rates of all the legendary heroes in the game. And for an extra bonus, we have the precise rate, the precise probability to get an ancient drop from all 3 gear raids, stages 18, 19, 20, and 21. You're not going to want to miss this, guys. We are going to have it all immediately available at the time of the release of this video in a public feat. You can sort through it yourself. But first, let me summon my spreadsheet demon. Spreadsheets, spreadsheets, spreadsheets.
You have summoned me, mortal. Feed me data or feed me your
Sorry, good relevant time of day to you all.
Alrighty guys, jokes aside, thank you so much Seamus for being here. Do you want to introduce yourself and then we can get into the good stuff?
For those that don't know me, I've appeared on Fasty's channel quite a few times. I'm the person Fasty generally turns to when he says the word spreadsheet.
It is true. I have a running joke on Discord. I have a running joke on Discord where I say, I need a spreadsheet at Seamus. And you're amazing. So thank you so much.
And then, 10 minutes later, he has a spreadsheet he wants.
It is too true. So speaking of the spreadsheets I want, and I honestly think the spreadsheets you guys are going to want, let's pop open that right now. We have so much stuff for you guys.
Fastidious.
Fastidious.
You can see here the legendary project by Fasty and Seamus with bonus ancient gear data. So we're going to start you off. We're going to ease you in because I'm going to tell you this, guys, this is just going to rev up further and further and further. If you know, we did a study on the cultist packs and the infernal packs. These were pay to win packs that you could buy. I believe it was $50, right, Seamus?
Yep.
Yeah, it was $50, and you got a legendary pack card, and from that card you were guaranteed one of 6 legendary heroes. So it was 5 normal legendaries and 1 legendary lord. Let me actually zoom in so you guys can see that oh so quickly. So you can see on the left we have an infernal that came out Christmas weekend. Zealatu, Hex, Cetrum, Nocturne, Twin Fiend, Aelin, Twin Fiend being the lord. And then if we look to our right, we have the cultists. And this came out to Lasir, Zealous, Morrigan, Kriya, Cerberus, and Virna, Morrigan being the Lord. And we have very hard data on this now, which we have confirmed through our source. So you can see this is what we accounted for, and this is why we always ask for a large number of submissions. So many more people did the Infernal Pack. It's 192 submissions. You would expect a 16.67% chance if it was spread among all these heroes evenly. But actually what the internal rates were was it should have been a 10% chance for the Legendary Lord. The same thing goes for the other pack, that being Twin Fiend, and then an even 18% chance for all the other heroes. If you look here, it was getting near that, but not perfect. We actually had a very high rate on Twin Fiend. And here's a beautiful pie chart that Seamus created. Any quick comments here, my friend?
Well, as you can see, we're reckoning for the packs that actually just doing even drop rates because it is directly pay for a Lego. Where if there was anything differentiated in the rates, and you're physically paying for it, then in a lot of countries that's just considered outright gambling, which is illegal. So we reckon for the packs it actually is even drops.
Yes. And we have that data thanks to T, and it's like what I said. So it should have been 18% for each and then 10% for Twin Fiend. That's what it stands as in the game now from when we've last looked at the data. It's possible when they actually released this, it was even because you can see Twin Fiend was exceptionally high. It's also possible people just got lucky, pulled a lot of extra Twin Fiend, and that changed the rates. However, if we move over now to our cultist pack, you'll see a similar occurrence. You can see we have our heroes over here, the highest being Virna of all people. Shout out to the best hero in the pack besides Morrigan, potentially. Honestly, in terms of hero quality, she's better than Morrigan. 26.79% chance, but a very low number of submissions. Again, this is why we like having a high number of submissions. You can see the lowest was Cerberus, and then actually Morrigan is above not just her expected rate from the listed values we have in the data directly from the game, so it should have been 10%. She's actually over what you would have expected from all the other heroes, over 18%. So you can look here at the full charts all together. And again, this entire document is going to be made available to all of you guys. So yeah, that is the Cultist pack. That is the Infernal pack. We just wanted to wrap that study up, and then we can get into the really crazy stuff. Are you ready, Seamus?
Yes.
All right, guys, so that was your little appetizer. That was your little amuse-bouche, if you will. What we've got now is the good stuff. So I'm going to get into Seamus's brilliant mind in just a second now, but I got to ask you some questions before we really parse through this wealth of data. Let me zoom out further so people can really see everything. Tell me what we got in terms of total unique submissions, because the viewer participation was absolutely incredible, right?
Yeah, they knocked it out of the park this time. We got 1,026 unique submissions, plus a bunch of resubs.
Yeah, you guys might remember we get a couple updates, and that was kind of me and Seamus talking about our hunger for data. That wasn't just a joke. Statistically, Seamus knows from his studies we want 1,012 submissions to guarantee a pretty high level of statistical significance. We didn't know it at the time, but that became exceedingly important when it came to getting our comparison numbers to corroborate the numbers we got directly from the game sourced by T himself. Because there was such a great congruency, we could be really confident that what he gave was amazing, and we could really lean on that. So more on that in a second. So we know it was going to be, what do you say, 1,026? That's amazing. How many total summons then did we account for?
2,104,234.
Pretty big number.
Yes, massive.
That's the power of a YouTube community, baby. Thank you guys so much. That's incredible. And then I also wanted to ask, I know you were asking people how many days they played. So do you have a sense of the total amount of gameplay we've accounted for?
Yes. Over 250 years.
Years.
Of gameplay. Years.
250 years.
The game has been out how long? And we've covered how many years?
We quarter of a millennium. So thank you guys so much, and that's why this data is so strong, and it's only going to get stronger when we go to the next sheet and you get to see that comparison with the data strictly from the game, straight from the game, thanks to T. Can you tell me what I'm looking at over here, these numbers, Seamus, that I highlighted?
So the first one is the total number of legendaries that got reported on, which is 28,628.
Excellent.
So that's how many total legendaries. And the second number is the total number of legendaries minus the lords, which was 26,848.
Absolutely. So that's like our normal legendaries that we calculated.
Yep. So the reason we're including the Lego lords here is from information that was given to us by T, which is the legendary lords are actually in the same pool as the rest of the legendaries.
Yes.
Which is something we weren't expecting.
Very unexpected and honestly very noteworthy, because it makes something possible, right? Because even though in the game they're kind of listed as different rarity classes, they are still among the same pool. Basically what they've done when we've looked at the data from the game, every hero, every item in this game, everything in this game is assigned a weight, right? And all those weights add together to a total pool. That's the 100% chance of anything happening. So you divide that weight from the total chance, and that is how you get your probability. Because they are not in distinct pools, the way like legendaries and epics have totally separate pools, that means potentially every time a new legendary is added to the game, so like Boreas, or we just got Anai or Aurum, those could be suppressing the rates of legendary lords further. You know, they're not adding any new normal legendary lords, non-ancient exclusive. So as we get more and more heroes, it is very, very much possible, unless one thing is happening, which I'll articulate in 1 second, it is very possible that every new legendary makes it that much more unlikely you won't get your Iracha or your Twin Fiend, or so on and so on. Do you want to explain the situation in which that might not be the case and things could be good, Seamus?
So if every time they add a new legendary, they also increase the rates of the lords.
Yeah.
So great. That's a weird amount of extra work they've put on themselves to recalculate everything every time they add a new character to the game, but
they would have to proportionally calculate an additional weight for all 8 legendary lord status normal heroes, right? The 7 normal legendary lords and Ajax. I'm quite confident they're not doing that. I'd be very surprised. I think the number is going to go down and down. And what T has found, when we go into our comparison numbers, these numbers are drawn straight from the game and what happens during Crazy Invocation of Spirits. So when there's a 2x, but it's still the same base rate among the legendary pool. It's no longer the normal legendary pool and legendary lord pool. It's been going down. It's no longer that in-game listed 0.04%. or what would happen during crazy rates, 0.08%, if you look at it that way. So it's very interesting. Let me zoom out. Let me explain something quickly, and then I say let's go class by class, Seamus, or you'll explain this chart, and then maybe I can take them class by class. You can see here, for anyone that wants to look, this sheet will be completely viewable. It will be in the top pinned comment and the description of this video. All the stuff is for you guys. You can see we've just gone from top to bottom, the least common to the most common. You see the 8 least common are the Lords and Ajax, so those are, we kind of sectioned them off. We quarantined them off on top by themselves. And then you can see 3.03% is what you'd expect if you took these 33 non-Lord legendaries we accounted for. You just divide 100 by 33, you've got 3.03%. We assigned a plus minus 0.5% margin of error. So anyone within that margin of error, I should say, is going to fall in this nice light green here that Seamus added. If they're just below that, so another 0.5% away, they're going to have this kind of pinkish orange. If they're just above that, they're going to have this nice green. And then if they're a major outlier, so they're far rarer than you would have thought with even distribution, so clearly there's a different calculation, or as I'll explain in 1 second, they're just newer to the game, they've got this nice darker red, and if they're super common, it's going to be this bright green. So let me explain very quickly. You'll see a couple of heroes are underlined. I'm highlighting them right now. These are all heroes ever since Arrogance that were not there on global launch. So a hero like Zealatu was right there July 14th when the game came to global. However, if you look, Aelin, quite new, Kineza, quite new, Kriya, pretty new, Arrogance, the least new of the new heroes. He came out like 2 weeks after launch. Hex, a little less new, you know, but then we've got people that are very new, like Constance and Alora. So naturally, there's been less opportunity for people to pull them. That's why their rates are a lot lower. Those are going to be heroes we're going to shout out in the comparison numbers, because that's where there's going to be a major variance, since those numbers are not dependent upon how long they've been in the game, since these numbers are not from self-reporting like we've done with this amazing study. Thank you, Seamus, and thank you all you guys for participating. This is coming from T, getting data straight from the game. Baby, tell me about this beautiful pie chart, Seamus.
That just the percentages of what you're pulling. So the marksman, 27.8% of all the legendaries pulled were marksmen. We've included lords, which are surprisingly high at 6.2%, which really surprised me. Fighters, 23%. Healers, 9.9%. Defenders, 11.5%, which is why I've only ever pulled Aurum on my main account. And mages, 21.6%.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's just a breakdown by class.
Absolutely. There is population differences between the class, but this is a nice thing for people to visualize. Obviously, healers are the rarest because there's so few normal legendary healers. All right, let me take you guys through it class by class. Let's get a little zoom in going. Few things to note. Seamus did a great job highlighting the most common and the least common. So the most common fighter by a good amount ahead of Absent is going to be Valkyria at 3.67%. So this means if you pull any legendary normal hero, right, from your blue or gold summons, whether it's a normal legendary or a lord, you have a 3.67% chance that it'll be Valkyria. And then here, if you know it's going to be a fighter, then it's a 15.99% chance. The main number you're going to want to look at is the one on the right. Then if we look at our rarest, that is going to be Kineza. That's a bit obvious, I think, because she's by far the newest fighter in the game. She's coming at 122%. However, when you see the comparison numbers, she's certainly not coded to be the rarest. She's just shown up the least on our accounts because she's been in the game for so little time. However, if we look at Arrogance over here, 1.46%, and he's been out in the game ever since the 3rd week the game went live. So he's been out since the beginning of August, right? So it just shows you this is one of the best guys. And then who's next? Salazar, the next best fighter probably, or Zealatu. Then you go. The rarest are the best, right? And it's no coincidence, and it's very obvious. So as you guys are going to see, in many cases, not all cases, it's the least common hero from that class is going to be some of the best, and the most common hero maybe will be the least desirable, right, Seamus?
Yep, there are exceptions, and the exceptions tend to be the ones you really want to get dupes of.
Yes, we'll get into that very shortly when we get to marksmen and mages. Let's go now to healers. So there's obviously very few healers in the game. Aelin is very new, so she's the rarest, but when you see her rates from the actual game, when we get into comparison numbers, that's not the case. It really is Elwyn. Look at that, 1.45% rock bottom rates. Compare that to the highest, 3.78% of Ezrein, or 3.65% of Sadie. If we look at this, we did have a 2x on Ezrein, but we've never had a 10x, excuse me. We've never had a 10x on Sadie, and we closed this study before the 10x on Elwyn began. So just compare Sadie and Elwyn. I mean, it's night and day, right? Sadie's almost 3 times more common than Elwyn, from the 2.1 million summons we've accounted for. Now to defenders, you see Constance again. She's the rarest. She's by far the newest. Brokir's also pretty rare. He is quite low. You're going to want to see the comparison numbers here. They're quite surprising. However, no surprise. Maybe some people think Azor shows up all the time because you're used to pulling Azor and remembering it because he's not very good. Regulus is much better than Azor. However, let me tell you, as someone that's anecdotally done many summons for viewers, Regulus is dropping all the time. So this doesn't surprise me. Seamus, your time to shine. Nocturne, what's going on there?
Nocturne is the most commonly pulled hero we had. And that's awesome because Nocturne A5 is amazing.
Absolutely.
So yes, it's really good that you're getting him well because you want him A5 as soon as possible.
Exactly, and we'll see the same thing in 1 second with Marksman and Calypso, but Nocturne is the most pulled legendary from you guys from our 1,026 submissions, 2.1 million summons plus accounted for, 4.4% of the time. He was on a 10x once, but honestly, almost every one of these heroes has been on a 10x. And then our most rare is going to be the lovely Kriya. That's because she's by far the newest. Then if we look at all the OG heroes, well, no surprise, the rarest is Virna. Some interesting things, though. Comet, pretty common, right? About the exact same as Zealous. They're 0.01% apart. Now to Marksman.
And the other interesting thing there is Virna has been on 10x's twice.
Yes, and she's still that low, right? So you're gonna see the rates are gonna be even crazier when we see those comparisons of the actual data from the game. And now Marksman, this is what you were talking about, Seamus, right? The second most common legendary pulled in the game is Calypso, and we love her dupes, right?
Yep. You again want her A5. When she's going to murder the Styx boss in the Mortal Codex.
Absolutely. And honestly, if you're running like an Aracha team, amazing for guild boss. Calypso really shines at A5. She's like a whole new hero. And then surprise, she's not new at all. She's been there since launch, but many people's favorite hero, many people's vote for best hero in the game, Hot Sit. When you pull a normal legendary, or when you pull any normal summons legendary, so legendary or lord, normal legendary or lord, 1.38% of the time only it is going to be Hot Sit. And she's even had a 10x, and the rates are still that crazy basement low. Now here's something pretty interesting. We actually had some solid discrepancy among the lords, right? Among the legendary lords. So it really does seem that Leia and Morrigan are a good deal rarer, also Torador and Hearts, than someone like Aracha or Twin Fiend, right? That is notable. If you if you're getting down in tiny numbers, right, Seamus? But if we actually don't look at the right side from all normal legendaries and lords, if we look at this one, that's a pretty stark change, right? 14.49% versus 10.84.
It is. Again, considering the small size of the pool, I mean, it's still only 1,780 lords that were pulled. Mm-hmm. That's pretty reasonable.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll definitely have to see.
On the upside, you should feel happier because you do have a Morrigan. And
I feel so much happier. Yeah. But when we get to the comparison numbers, you guys will see there actually is a discrepancy when we actually look at the actual data. So, Seamus, any final thoughts on this big thing before we get into the real numbers and the ancient gear bonus and all that stuff?
So there are 4 heroes who people constantly told me would be the most common heroes, which are Absent, Azor, Quatch, and Shamir. And look at Absent, Azor, and Quatch. They are right within that 0.5% of the expected drop range. They are not common. They are nowhere near as common as people keep on telling.
They are perfectly normal. They're slightly more common from what we can see than normal. And then, heroes who people think are so exceedingly rare because they love them, like Silas, more common from our study. So that really shows you a form of confirmation bias. Like a lot of people feel like Dolores is very, very rare. That's because the people that don't have Dolores really feel it, right? But Dolores actually has a totally normal rate. Silas is the same way. Silas is actually more than a 0.5% percentage above, right? There are many things that jump off the page, that kind of felt like, Virna, super rare, Arrogance, super rare, Hot Sit, super rare, Eloin, super rare, surprise, not at all, right? But then, this Calypso Nocturne thing, quite interesting. Calypso has been on 2 10x's, I believe, which is quite unique, and Nocturne has been on a 10x, but pretty good stuff. I think I'm ready for the real numbers. What do you think? The real surprise, right?
I think so.
All right, let's do this. So let's go to comparison numbers here. We broke it down in 2 ways. Do you want to explain the left side of the screen versus the right side of the screen, Seamus?
So the left side of the screen is what the results were from our study. Those are all the results from our study. Mm-hmm. The middle of the screen is the drop rates we got from T, which is what the drop rates are in the actual game. Yeah. And then the right side of the screen is the comparison of what T gave us to our study. I then grouped them in colors. So yellows are the lords who are all the same rate. You then have Hatsit who's on her own. Then you have a group of reds and a group of greens. And then if you compare that to what we have on the left, same coloring pattern. The people, the oddities are the 3 greens just before Hatsit, who are all really new heroes. Then Valeria and let's see who's behind you, Setram, who are way more common than their drop rate would suggest. But then Setram's just off a 10x, and people really pulled for Setram.
Yes.
And it was they didn't pull for one Setram, 10X. They pulled for a one Setram.
And it was Setram's second 10x, and his first 10x was alongside Hatsit, who has, as we see, is in a class of her own in terms of rarity. So it kind of all checks out, right? So I'm going to give ourselves a little pat on the back. I'm going to give the community participation a little pat on the back. This is why we go for large population of data, right? Because it really worked out well in the end.
And because of you, we got that close to what we now know are the actual rates.
Yeah, so thank you guys so much. Sincerely, it's so amazing that this lined up perfectly right when we finished our study. We did get the actual real data from the game. I do want to point out, if you ever see a blank, these are the heroes we did not include. We actually wrote those as well over here. These are the 4 heroes that came out after we started our study, those being Kai, Boreas, Aurum, and Anai. So if we look over here, you'll see those 4 blank slots, and that explains things quite nicely. You also are going to want to, let me make this slightly bigger so everyone can see a little bit better. You are going to want to also focus on the major discrepancies. So those would be someone like Aylin. So if you look at Aylin here, she was down at 1.12%, just like Seamus explained. That's because she was so brand new. She actually has a totally normal rate. So I want to zoom out one thing and just give a global assessment. Guys, there are obviously buckets in this game, and obviously those have a very strong, if not definitive, correlation with what the developers deem to be quality. Hatsit is consistently ranked to be a top 3 to top 5 hero by legendary hero by literally everyone, I think, that plays the game. Some people rate her as high as 1. For example, for me, I rated her number 2. I think if I redid my list now, she'd still fall at 2 or 3. She is truly tremendous, and look at that. Of all the normal non-exclusive heroes in the game that aren't lords, she is by far the actual rate of her is a whole notch lower. We get a full bucket here of some of the best, most desirable heroes in the game, much lower, and then we have a total normal group. A totally normal group, and there's actually not so much variance among them, and many great heroes fall among that group, right? You've got your Silases, you've got Valkyra's very amazing now, right? Nocturne, you might want dupes of, you've got the fantastic Comet. So some pretty interesting stuff. It might feel like you're pulling Regulus like it does for me, or some people say Cratch or Shamir, but basically we have these groupings. So Seamus, any final conclusions on this before we move on to the Ancients and we make this public?
I just noticed I did a slight error. I didn't colour Leia and Morgan differently to the rest of the Lords, because apparently they are slightly rarer than the rest of the Lords.
Yes. Yeah, very interesting. And it does somewhat line up with what we found as well. Actually, I can just show you the comparison right here. They were rarer in our study. Marginally, Morgan was the rarest, but they were right there. But, Leia was right up next to the other ones. But if you actually look at their base rates, they're a whole notch rarer. So from the normal pool, things you can summon with your blue summons, your rare summons, or your divine orange summons, your legendary summons, they're in a league of their own in terms of rarity, the same way Hatsit is for her. So shall we get to what
one last thing,
please?
Which we discovered is, if you look under King Haas, you will see the snake blood, which if you click on, is a snake blood empress. That's Venoma. She's not called Venoma in parts of the game.
Yes, internally in the data in the game, they haven't changed her name to Venoma. So if you want to be a super cool, you can call her the Snake Blood Empress. When I do my prayers to Venoma, though, I will continue calling her Venoma. All right, let's go to the Ancient Gear Rate drops, guys. I think a lot of you might have waited the whole video just for this, and it's going to be worth it. There's a difference. Cue the applause, Seamus.
Yes, there is.
There's a difference. Talk us through it, baby. Here we've got our chance for Ancients from each gear raid and from each stage 18 through 21. And Seamus, good news, right? Your chances improve to get Ancients with every single stage, so it's worth it.
Yeah, except for gear raid 2 and 3, 19 and 20, where it stays the exact same.
Yes, great point. And actually, that's a good transition. Let's break down all the specifics here. So if we look at Gear Raid 1, 2, and 3 at stage 18, all exactly the same at a 0.4% chance. That means if you do like 1,000 runs, you can expect to get 4 of those ancient pieces. Now, if we look at 19, this is where it gets quite interesting. It's going to be 0.6% chance in Gear Raid 2 and Gear Raid 3, but it's 0.533% chance for Gear Raid 1, so it's actually rarer. But then this switches, it flips at 20 and 21. So the rates remain exactly the same for 2 and 3, still at 0.6% chance, but now they're higher, so it's more likely to be an ancient from Gear Raid 1. And then finally at 21, this is where you're going to want to be. The changes are different, but over the long run of the game, when you're going to grind the thousands and tens of thousands and potentially hundreds of thousands of runs you're going to do, you will feel the difference. Gear Raid 1, you've got a great 0.8% chance, so you can expect 8 ancients every 1,000 runs. And then from 2 and 3, you've got a 0.642% chance. I think this is very exciting news, right, Seamus?
Yep. People are still going to complain, because people will always complain. But now we can point to, we have the information.
Yeah.
Over enough runs, it will even out. So you will get some days where you will have really good rolls, and you will get lots of ancients. And then there will be dry spells where you don't. But we now have the numbers, and if it's going to take another project to convince you of that, we may do another project to convince you of that.
Absolutely. And I think we're going to wrap it up here, guys, with the thing that we have so much more data than this, don't we, Seamus?
We do. We're still working our way through it. There's still stuff we want to verify, because we're not taking all of this at face value.
Mm-hmm.
Particularly because it's very much obscured in the code what things are.
Yeah, so we have code, we're translating that with a key into actual numbers, and then just to double check it again, we're corroborating it with real life data, so you guys can look forward to more help we're going to ask from you guys. But these are real numbers. It's directly from the game. We have things down to the chance for different main stats, the chance for different substats, the distribution of different gear sets from different gear raids. We have tons of stuff. There'll be a lot more on that on Sunday. If you guys haven't heard, I'm doing a 24-hour marathon stream to fundraise for our brand new website that people like me, Seamus, and many others have been working tirelessly on for nearly 2 months now. It's very exciting, guys, so I really hope to see you there. And featured on that website eventually is going to be all of this data. Thank you so much, T. Maybe we will reveal who they are eventually, but for now, linger in the shadows, do all this amazing work, and it's very cool. Any final thoughts now, Seamus, and then we'll wrap it up?
Sleep? Sleep is good.
That's true. I should try that out sometime.
You really
thank
should.
You, sir. Thank you, sir, so much for not just joining me, but helping me for literally months now. It's great to have you as a collaborator and as a friend. Got a little American-Irish connection. Guys, thank you so much for your amazing participation in this. Thank you to T for making our data-filled dreams come true. Like we said, there is so much more data that we have. We just can't just unload it on you right now, and we're going to parse through all of it with a fine-tuned comb, make it as beautiful as possible. If you like this stuff, if you want more juicy data dumps, make sure you subscribe, like the video, comment. Absolutely, if you made it to the end of this video, please, I know there's going to be at least a couple hundred of you that made it this far. Go subscribe to Seamus's channel. Think about how much hard work he does for me, for my channel, for the community, for the Discord, for everything, making this happen. Pulling back the curtain for us. He's at 57 subscribers. I really want 24 hours after this video is live that number is in triple digits. What do you say, Seamus?
Thank you.
Yes. Amazing. Thank you, guys. Share it with your mother. We'll see you in the next one.
Bye-bye.
Fastidious.